All right. Second to get things cranking here. Hold on, I gotta get the Instagram. I'll be right back. All right. Just gonna give everybody a minute to come in. While I'm doing that, I'm just gonna play a little music. Start featuring some of these artists I was talking about while we waiting for folks to come in. All right, bear witness with me. All right, hang tight. Give it a few minutes. All right. That's not below. There we go. All right. You know what? I think I'm just going to get into. Hold on. Hang tight as I get this set up. All right, there we go. All right, like this. I'll play this one. The song here is Transformation by Monty Mercury. Let me play this one real quick.
14-year-old prodigy builds device to give the world free internet. Sick of buffering and
A minute
dropouts.
and we'll get started.
What are you telling people? What are you telling people?
Shit wasn't easy, got pushed to the edge. The journey continues, still moving my legs. Conquered the rafts, deep in the darkness. Never gave up, broke through regardless. Not of this world, I know it ain't real. Killing the matrix, selling red pills. Angels and demons are one and the same. Different perceptions, you peeping our game. Exposing the fakes, watching my fall. Master the symbols with blood on the wall. Deep into all, I passed by the spirits. Put in the work, and most of y'all feared. It took me to fall to lead the way. Only the pure. Listen up close, take heed in my words. Now come to slaughter the herd. They play to the right, went hard to the left. Follow the light. Life is death, then death is life. In the end, you're paying the price. Metamorphosis, transformation. To all my praises, this is inspiration. For the scholars listening, illumination. To the chosen ones, this is dedication. Strong herb, that's for medication. Visualize itself. Only spring water, that's purification. Discipline, self-deification. Transformation. 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 I see myself as transformation. Freestyle hook called as transformation. This can be played for your affirmation. Pendulum swinging, that's confirmation. To be more precise, do divination. Transformation. 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 Time to let go for your transformation. Switch up the flow like electric currents. Stinging your brain, I'm a mental hornet. Once in a lifetime live comment. Hating on me is a wasted comment. I'ma keep building, they never stopping. Sell on Celairs, you ain't popping.
Right.
Tables have turned you all flopping. You feeling drove cause Merc rocking. Doors said he open without knocking. Just being myself, you acting the role. Bringing the new, y'all puppets is old. Controlling the game, I'm hot in my mode. Ain't tucking my nuts, so blank blow. Conquered our wars to never fold. Caught a few bodies strapped on the road. Alchemy shit, my bars is gold. Got a prosperous soul, this I know. So pure heart with no regrets. Seeing our lanes, this form of chess. Eyes all around past every test. Our praises to self, God at his best. No time for sleep, it's the cousin of death. You ain't talking about shit, so save your breath. New world order, been effects. If these white imposters ain't worthy of that. This the Kali Yuga, the end is here. Jesus ain't coming, stop wasting your tears. The church been corrupt for like 200 years. Bringing destruction, man, face your fears. They say the devil deceives in different forms. I can split my halo into two horns. Merc is transformed.
All right, that was Brother Monty Mercury, Transformation. We will this month getting back on the Hip Hop and the Cult show. I got to get with Brother Taja, set a date for that. Been a lot going on. We skipped last month, but we'll get back to that. So stay tuned for that. Let me run through a couple of quick announcements. I know it's an odd time to come on, so I'm not sure how many people are going to get here. It's the only time I really had this weekend. So I figured I'd just come on here. First and foremost, the Journey of the Black Adept Conference. I know a lot of you reaching out to me about that. We have people signing up, despite, what's currently going on, with the situation with the pandemic. I got to keep people abreast to that because of, local state mandates and things of that nature. But as far as here, ain't really nothing changed here. Here in South Florida, everything's pretty much a go. And as I've said before, until anything changes, which I don't foresee it to really change, I will keep people informed of that. So we are still doing it live. I think we're up to about 9 or 10 people that have already signed up that are coming live. We have a couple people that have signed up virtually. So I am offering it 2 ways, virtually or live. I will probably have a cap. We still got about a little bit under 2 months to go, so I'm sure there's going to be more. We have a new venue this year, so we could definitely house more than in other years, and that's the reason why I went to a new venue. But I also want to make sure we maintain a decent amount of space so we can operate. I don't want to make it too tight. Then again, I don't know how everybody's perspective is on that. You just don't know what people think in their mind. It's not like we're going to be breathing and be on top of each other like that. But, just for people's comfort and safety, I want to make sure we have a little bit of extra space. So depending on how it grows, there will be a cap as far as live and in person. And I'm going to say that's probably about 20 to 25 people max. Because I think after that, then the space probably starts to get a little bit smaller, and I don't want that to happen. The second night, our ritual is outdoors on the beach, so that's not going to be a problem. The first night, it is an indoor ritual. in addition to the classes and workshops. So that's going to be October 29th to the 31st. That's the Journey of the Black Adept Conference number 4. 3 days of classes, workshops, and rituals. I would encourage, if you definitely are coming live and you want to come in person, I would definitely recommend you definitely register and sign up now, because I am going to put a cap on it. We've had a discussion with a couple of people here that we do it with. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're going to come live and in person, to do that. Obviously, virtual is not as critical. Okay. Not as critical as far as time frame to sign up. But if you're going to come live, I would definitely reach out to me. The email's in the description box. And I would definitely sign up now. And I will keep people abreast as far as the cap, the head count, just to make sure. When and if anything changes, again, I'll keep people posted. So as of right now, 100% a go. I think we're up to 9 or 10 people live, so we still got room for 15 or more. A bigger space than in the previous 3 years. Got a lot of good stuff planned, and you know, for people's peace of mind, and depending on what your perspective is with this whole pandemic thing, we'll keep it as organized and safe, you know, as we can. All right. So that's the 29th to the 31st. Also coming up tomorrow, for those, we have the Qlippothic Kundalini Yoga Meditation class tomorrow. Okay. That will be 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. That, I believe, is class number 3 of an ongoing series that will start tomorrow. Let me actually pull up the dates. Other upcoming classes also. Hold on one sec. I'd like to get the exact dates. So I don't give you guys wrong dates again. With all the shit going on, I can't remember all this shit. All right, hold on one second. So we have that class tomorrow. If you want to sign up for that class, the information's here in the community section on YouTube. It's also on Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram and Primordial Chaos on Facebook. You can sign up for that class. The class is $56. It could be paid by PayPal or Cash App. When you do make a payment, please include your email address and your name, and we'll get the link to you for tomorrow's class. Yeah, I let people sign up until about an hour or so before the class. So if you are interested, that information, you can go to any one of those platforms and access the information to sign up. That is class number 3 as I'm looking at it right now. And then after that class, we have another one. The next class after that, hold on one sec, that's going to be on, where is it? September 18th. That's Esoteric and Occult Bible class number 3. This also is an ongoing series. That will be at 3 p.m. on Saturday, September 18th. Same thing. You can go to any of those platforms or send me an email if you want to sign up for that class. If you are on Patreon and you're at tier 3 or you're on the right tier, 3 and above, you have access to that class. I would encourage people to go to the Patreon because you can get access to all these classes for half of the price that you would pay just for the one class. So check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Beniti, Baniti, patreon.com/Beniti, Baniti. There's different tiers. I'm sure you can find a tier on there to your liking. There's different levels. There's 3 mentorship programs. As I said before, only sign up for the mentorship program. I don't want to waste your time, and obviously I don't want you to waste my time. All right. That would be the next class. And then also for Patreon members only on Friday night, September 24th, we have the Santa Muerte 7 Aspects of Power ritual. That is only for Patreon members. You have to be tier 3 and above on Patreon to be able to participate in that ritual. And then starting next month, obviously at the end of the month, we have the Journey of the Black Adept Conference. We'll be focusing on that in the month of October. But I will be starting also a new series of classes. As you see, what I'm doing is I'm creating ongoing continual series of classes. And again, if you join tier 3, that's going to give you access to all of them. Simple as that. I try to keep it as simple as I can without making it complex or too confusing. We're going to be starting a series on Sith alchemy, how to use Sith practices, rituals, Sith philosophy, how that can be used on your personal path of self-mastery, and how you can use it for your personal alchemical transformation. We're going to be really going in depth of how to use the alchemy or the alchemical aspect of that. That's going to be an ongoing series. And then another one that I've been working on, which I enjoy doing, and this is going to be thorough, and this one's going to be a pretty lengthy one because it's going to cover various different aspects. We're going to do a whole ongoing series on Eastern mysticism and left-hand path occult magic. What will that involve? Working with the aspects of Melek Taus, Iblis, Shaitan, the Jinn, Aramanic magic, any of those Eastern philosophies that deal with the occult and the left-hand path. We will be tackling them in stages, and there's a lot of information to go through there, so it'll be pretty thorough. Again, those two series will be added to the additional ongoing series, and those will start next month. We'll start those in the beginning of next month. And the other ones will keep going on. The Esoterical Occult Bible class, a lot of people have signed up and responded to that because, I've gotten emails, how it's helped them put a lot of that stuff into perspective, and they've been able to use it as a tool to assist and teach maybe newer people also that they're trying to bring in to the path. All right. And then last but not least, if you are interested in a spiritual reading or consultation, I offer many different ones. Probably some of the most important or popular ones are the shadow work readings, which if you're looking, where do I begin on the path? How do I start? What rituals should I be doing? Well, you should always start with shadow work. And that's what the shadow work readings are for. They are for the purpose of accessing what it is about yourself you need to work on. They can be very intense and personal, but it is a great place to start because it pushes you in the right direction. I also offer deity readings, not because we're supposed to worship these deities, but they help and assist you with the knowledge of the energy of these deities that you walk with before you were birthed into this existence and while you're here. That's become a very popular one. The one that's really starting to grow now are the Egyptian oracle readings. And that's where I just use the divination system working with the Egyptian deities to see kind of what comes up from that perspective. I also offer that. And obviously the most popular one that I've been doing for a while, the Qlippothic demonic readings, which works with all the Qlippothic and all the left-hand path occult spiritual deities of the Qlippoth, Lucifer, Lilith, Samael, Naama, all of them, Hecate. It deals with all of them. If you're interested in any of those readings, shoot me an email at khnum19@gmail.com. And in that email, include days and times you are available in the time zone you live in, and we'll set something up. All right, that's it for the announcements. So you got the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Check it out. We got the Journey of the Black Adept Conference 4. Everything's still a go. So if you came in late or you see this later when it uploads. But again, I would encourage you to sign up for the conference now if you're coming live. We are putting a head cap on it for sure. That's 100% guaranteed. So I will take people as long as the space we feel safely, we have enough of space to continue. All right, so that's kind of where we're at with that. All right, you see the title, Qlippothic Sorcery and the Book of the Perverse Qabbalah. What is that? It's a lot of stuff out there on the Qlippoth. There's a lot of stuff out there on sorcery. You have to be careful because some of the Qabbalah and Qlippoth stuff, as it's intertwined, it can become a little confusing in the sense, one, I always suggest this. As I said before, there's no 100%, right and exact any of these books that have it down pack 100% pure. It doesn't exist. Remember, a lot of these authors that write these books, which is normal, and if we were doing it, it'd be the same thing. It's from their perspective and their experience. A lot of good stuff out there, but there's a lot of garbage and bullshit out there. I have found that people intertwine these topics, and some of them I do see in certain circles have a lot of religious overtones to them. That's a little disturbing to me. because it just shows that the practitioner is either still influenced by religion, or you have to be careful because a lot of these books that come out on the Qlippothic and the Goetias and all that, as I said many times over the years before, a lot of them are not really practitioners of the path. They're just interested in the topic. They might have done research on it, or they might have just gained an interest along the way to learn about it. You should do that research on your authors, who you're reading about. I've always encouraged that over the years. Try to find out what the author's background is, how they were raised, if they did have a religion and an upbringing, even if they don't hold on to it now, what was that? Because all of that is going to influence to a level and a degree what that person is putting in their book. And I found, regardless if an author came from a religious background heavily or not, I've noticed actual active practitioners of the Qlippothic tend to write better books than just observers or people that are doing research, or it's just a topic of interest. There's a huge difference. A lot of us, though, I'm gonna be honest with you, we just read books because the title catches our eye, but we don't really delve deep into who's the author, what's their background, where did he or she come from, what's their nationality, did they have a religious upbringing? All that is important because it's usually going to be a telltale of how that's going to influence their writing. So I'm going to tell you and encourage you moving forward. It's very important because we as individuals, as I like to use the example, coming from a Luciferian mindset, and a good practicing Luciferian is a critical thinker. They analyze. They really do the research and they really do the comparisons. Because remember, it's a path of apotheosis, self-deification, self-mastery. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, the podcast. Don't forget to check out the new Primordial Chaos podcast I started a few weeks ago. Just uploaded a new episode earlier today. I've been putting an average of 1 to 2 episodes up a week. I think there's about 7 or 8 up there now. You can go directly to the link of the podcast, which I have again on all the platforms, anchor.fm. Anchor.fm, and just type in Primordial Chaos, 2 words, it'll come up. And it's pretty much available on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Radio Public, Google, Apple, Amazon. Pretty much you can find it anywhere. It's just another good way to reach people. You can download these things, listen to them on the go, in the gym, in your car. I know the podcast thing has become very huge over the last several years. So I figured, let me go ahead and start reaching out to people through those podcasts. So check out the Primordial Cast podcast on anchor.fm and all those other platforms. So yeah, I would encourage you to do that research on the authors. So having said that, I want to talk a little bit about the Qlippothic and Qlippothic sorcery. There's a book I had mentioned about a year or two ago. I've used it maybe once or twice here on the platform. It's called Wrathful Chaos. 5 books of satanic philosophy. It's a tough book to get. I don't know if it's in print anymore. I do know they are selling it for ridiculous amounts. I know people have reached out to me. They weren't able to find it, or they found limited copies and people were charging a ridiculous amount of money. That's usually what they do when something goes out of print or has limited availability. Amazon and all these other platforms and these printing companies, Barnes and Noble and all these other, they'll have fools on there selling it for hundreds. I've even seen it for thousands, which is stupid. But there's a section in there on Qlippothic sorcery that I'm going to make reference to. I'm going to go through a couple of things. This is not really information when I say faint of heart. The term perverse, right? You see that in the title. People are a little bit spooked out when they see that, because the first thing we've been programmed with when we see that word perverse, let's be real. A lot of us, our minds wander to something sexual, right? Because the word perverse automatically activates the word pervert, right? Or sexual pervert. Perverse doesn't just refer to sexual energy and sexual tendencies, right? Perverse is just ties into being nonconformist or doing things an unorthodox way to the norm. That's it. So if you take something that mainstream has presented as this is the acceptable norm, if you go against that or have a different approach, then it would be considered perverse, right? You're going against the grain. So that's why you see that title in the video. But there'll be fools, and I do shit like that because just to see who responds. Because when you see that word, I always like to see who's going to look at it from a very indoctrinated mind control perspective. That's why I put shit like that in these titles, just to catch people's attention, to get people thinking. But it has nothing to do. It's just how easy they program us with words, because words carry sounds and vibration, and through those sounds and vibrations, it creates thoughts and images, right? I've talked about this many times before over the years. That's the power of symbols too, right? Words and symbols. One of my students in one of the mentorship programs, we were talking about the other night about using Egyptian hieroglyphics as sigils in ritual work. And to show you how symbols, sounds, and words, because the symbols also lead to words start to formulate our thoughts, and then it creates images, right? And it connects us to a certain understanding. What am I talking about? It's like we were discussing, it's like you use any of these major corporations that have logos and symbols. I don't care what it is, what product, you could use McDonald's, a very popular one. When you see the golden arches, if you're real with yourself, it automatically, you start thinking about hamburgers, shakes, anything that's affiliated with McDonald's, the characters. Maybe if you're an older person like me, Grimace, fucking Ronald McDonald, whatever the other characters were. It goes to show you how just with symbols and images and words, how the mind automatically connects the imagery with those thoughts. And you can do that with and that's what advertisers do. That's what they get paid for, to connect that. And I use, for an example, McDonald's, because it's such a global enterprise worldwide, and the golden arches. When you see the golden arches, be real with yourself. That's what comes to mind, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And what happens is, if you really know the power of working with sigils and symbols, there's a good and a bad aspect to it. It can be used against you, as far as stamping subconsciously in your mind things that you may not be aware of, which obviously can lead to that mental indoctrination. Or you can use that same process to reprogram the subconscious mind of how we use sigils when we're working magic and rituals. So very powerful. So now I want to get into, there's a section in the book, back to the book. I know I kind of wandered off there for a quick second. I want to go into a section called Sefer Ikesh, the book of the perverse Qabbalah, where it talks a little bit about Qlippothic sorcery. Working with the Qlippoth obviously is something that we do consistently on this path, especially if you're working with, say, the draconian current, and you're working draconian magic, because really it's all centered around raising the serpent or the kundalini energy. It's one of the most powerful paths of awakening. I say awakening and enlightenment because it's very Luciferian in nature, because that's what a Luciferian, he or she, seeks and searches for. Enlightenment. What is enlightenment? Enlightenment is intellect. What is intellect? Intellect is knowledge. Where is that light or enlightenment and intellect seek? In the darkness. What does the Qlippoth represent? The void and the abyss. And in that darkness, with no balance, no limitations, no restrictions, no parameters, one has the ability to reach and obtain a certain level of mastery. But it's work. So all of those concepts connect to what Qlippothic sorcery is about. Now, sorcery is a form of what? It can involve manipulating the elements, transforming things. It's a very skilled aspect of magic, right? You hear this term witchcraft. You hear the term sorcery. You might even hear the term Luciferian sorcery. Do all Luciferians use sorcery, magic, and witchcraft? No. Do some Luciferians? Yes, many do, including myself. And that's what magic is about, manipulating those elements based on your understanding of them. Now, if your understanding is limited, then unfortunately, until you harness your power in your magic, the power of your magic is going to be limited. Because we can never forget, the magician is the pillar. He or she is the foundational pillar of that source of power. So you could use ritual tools. You can use your dagger, your atheme, your chalice, You can use icons or statues, sigils, all of those things. But the only thing that really gives those implements or tools power is you. So those are just used as tangibles that you connect to your imagery that enhance the power and energy of your ritual. You understand that? So if your power is weak, your tools are also weak. All right. So let's go through this real quick. The Qlippothic Qabbalah, as it is currently being taught and practiced by sinister magicians. Now, you got to be careful with that word. I know the author uses it here. I'm not a fan of it because it almost reminds me when they refer to certain masks of Lucifer as trickster spirits, right? I'm not a fan of that term because, as I said before, to the ignorant, that can be misleading. It's not about, sinister, because we hear the word sinister, we think of evil and deceptiveness and this and that. Again, it's being used in the context. It's adverse to the norm. It's a non-conformist approach. So anything that's adverse to the norm, you could use the word perverse, sinister in the sense that it's not mainstream. It's not acceptable amongst the norm. So I want to make that clear, all right? Sinister, it is the product of the Golden Dawn system of Qabbalah as it is presented in the Book of the Black Serpent, which is Liber 231 by Aleister Crowley. I would definitely have you guys check that out. Now, even though Thelema, and I could say this being still, though I don't go all the time, an active OTO initiate, I don't really consider OTO, Golden Dawn, or Thelema left-hand path. They are a cult. They are more high magic. I consider high magic as what I term, and it's not to disrespect anybody, but that magic is more what I call gray side magic. It's not really dark or left-hand path. It's definitely not light or fluffy. It is a cult in nature. As far as when I say nature, its origin or practice, but I think it's in the middle of those two, aspects. Now, magic is magic because people always ask the question, what's the difference between white magic and black magic and blah, blah, blah? Magic is magic in the sense of the purpose of magic, which is to use magic to gain a desired result. So that magic is magic in that sense, but there are different levels and degrees of how magic is practiced. There is a difference. It's not the same doing black magic or doing Qlippothic sorcery or working with the Qlippoth through draconian magic than say doing, pagan, practicing, pagan witchcraft or practicing what they call Wicca. It's not the same. That's fact. What makes it not the same? Well, the vibrational energy and frequency and power of it is totally different. And I find Golden Dawn, Thelema, and OTO is in between those two. Because in my own experience from being an initiate in OTO, they do incorporate some Wicca and earth magic practices in their rituals. But they do incorporate some occult and even some, like in the Gnostic Mass, they do incorporate the Baphomet. He's mentioned in the rites of the Mass, Pan. It's really a conglomeration of all those schools of thought or thinking. And that's why I lay it in the middle. And then there's what we do, which supersedes all that, in my opinion, because what we're trying to do as, black magicians or occultists, we're trying to get that right harmony formula for ourselves of dark and light forces or energy, right? Because don't get it twisted. As I've said many times before, a black adept or black magician does work with what one would label those lighter, or as I joke around, fluffy forces. It's just we don't look at that and focus on that 100% as if that's really the tell-all be-all, because that really comes after the fact. We know we must go into the void or the abyss and the darkness to gain that light, knowledge, or intellect, not reverse, where other systems teach you to go reverse. Why do I say reverse? Because most religions, philosophies, and dogma are teaching you to go outside and work your way in. That's false. Just think about it. If you were raised a Christian, right, you were taught from a very early age that there's something out there and up there that's controlling the course of your life. And then you were taught to be obedient to it, right? Follow the rules. Here's the Bible. Here's the rules. Dress like this. Eat this. Don't eat that. You need to do this. Come to church or whatever on Sunday. Follow these rules. Practice this this holiday or this religious festival, right? You were told, all you would do was told what you could and could not do. And then the main indoctrination was the force that controls that is outside of you, somewhere up there and out there, which really, in essence, you can't really confirm because it all stems from mythology. And what they did was strip from you the awareness that the only God that you really should have been looking for from day one resided inside of you. All you needed to do was look in the mirror to find God. But they sent you on a crazy ass manhunt. And this is why people spend their whole life not being fulfilled, chasing something that does not exist. It only exists as far as the concepts through the indoctrination that they presented it. And when you tear it apart, it's very simple, all right? The Golden Dawn system of Kabbalah in itself is a mixture of mostly Lurianic Kabbalah and Western occultism. And by the way, I went through a whole initiation with that a few years back. And has been repackaged nearly verbatim by most schools of chaosific thought. And there's a good point coming up here with chaos, and let me get to it. One major flaw with this reproduction is context. The context of the Hermetic Kabbalah in union with the source of God, right, which is a mistake, and I'm going to explain why. The demons of the Qlippothic are simply wasteful products left over from creation, and they only exist according to the will of God. So when you use that monotheistic approach and you mix it in this context, you're still putting the source or the ruler or controller over it as this monotheistic God. And that would give the chaos energy in these demons, it would eliminate it. It doesn't make sense. So in essence, if you're still confused, what this is basically saying in a nutshell is we're back to religion, and that's what we're not trying to do, okay? The satanic entities are matters to overcome and advance beyond, for the Qlippothic exist as the vice of each Sephirah, right? And belong to the Sephirah and must be experienced even by the white adept or the fluffy person. Unfortunately, this context remains in the left-handed interpretation of Kabbalah, even if it isn't immediately recognized. Now, notice one thing, that it said there that's very important. The Qlippothic exists as the vice of each Sephirah and belong to the Sephirah. But here's the most important thing in that statement: and must be experienced even by the white adept or the right-hand practitioner. So if you're trying to run from these things, is what, and essentially what it's saying, your challenges, your shortcomings, your obstacles, if you're trying to run from your fears, your anxieties, it doesn't work. It goes against you. That's why I say even the white adept, the right-hand path philosopher, either willingly or unwillingly will have to experience and face this. Now, the difference of what we do is where we are intentionally out the gate taking on and accepting the fact that we are willing to experience this, face out challenges and obstacles, and overcome them and master them. That's the difference between the white adept and the black adept. And that's only used in terms, white intense, in terms of lighter right-hand path philosophies, more mainstream conformist, and the black or the left-hand path is more nonconformist in nature, not, of the norm, not lighter or fluffier, more darker, intense energies to work with. All right. Qlippothic sorcery, as it exists now, exalts the demiurge because it places the Qlippoth as being parts of the Sephiroth, when in fact they're entirely separate from them. The Qlippoth is separate from the Sephiroth, right? That's why I said earlier in the beginning, there's different schools of thought on this. And that's why I said in the beginning, some people intertwine the two. And if you're not really knowledgeable on it, you can get confused and think they are the same thing. But as the author said here, they are not the same thing. They are not. Because the Qlippoth is the antithesis or the opposite of what the Sephiroth represents. This is why you hear the term the tree of death. Death in the sense that what? Who's the facilitator at the top of the Qlippoth? Samael. What does Samael represent? Or what does his name break down to? Poison those of El. What does poison those of El mean? He poisons and destroys the false ways of the monotheistic God. That's why him and Lilith are the facilitators of that tree, right? Because of what they represent. So they're taking you through one aspect there, which is more monotheistic in nature on the Sephiroth. And then when you get to the Qlippoth, you're doing a whole nother 360 the other way. You're seeing the other side of it. So they are different. Be careful, because if you confuse the two, you can get caught back in that religious frame of mind or religious frame of thinking. So they are separate. The error is that idea that the Qlippoth have been in some way produced or caused by the Sephiroth. Because if this is the case, then the God who controls the Sephirotic forces would also, by proxy, control the Qlippoth. So see, if you said they were the same and they were connected and they weren't different and they weren't separate, you would also have to accept the fact, okay, that it's being controlled by those forces, okay? Chaos would be entirely impossible because the God would simply be too powerful. If Qlippothic sorcery in its current form is flawed, have we as black magicians wasted our time in its practice? That's what you would have to ask yourself. Now, we know that couldn't be the case because we know before any of this, there was primordial chaos. And before you can have order, whether you call it right-hand path, organization, discipline, structure, there had to be chaos first. Now, chaos can be looked at two different ways. Chaos is negative when you have no control over it and you don't understand it. Chaos, when it's devouring you, it appears to be a negative thing because we say things are chaotic, and that's chaos, right? They all have root in the same word. But we know that primordial chaos, you go back into all the old texts from all the different cultures, whether it's ancient Egypt, they talk about the primordial chaotic waters of Nun, right? We know what that represents. They talk about through the science of Tiamat and Leviathan, right? Same thing. In that darkness, that void and abyss existed what does primordial mean? Primordial has root in the word prime or original. All things emerged from that primordial chaos. This is prior to any of this bullshit we're talking about. I don't care what you label it. See, we have to do that as human beings so we can feel comfortable. These are all man-made things that come later. And you can't really get the full realization of this until you go into your ritual work and do spiritual work where you have the ability to have what they call an OBE, out-of-body experience, astral travel, and go outside of person, place, or thing. Because you're wasting your time if you're trying to debate it from a three-dimensional perspective under person, place, or thing. Because all the shit that people are going to bring up falls under that classification. Even what we have to discuss here has to be related like that to a certain degree so people could at least grasp the concept. You really only come to the full understanding of this when you raise yourself up to the self-realization of it. That's the difference. And you know, if you've had the experience and you've done the work, that primordial chaos or what the Qlippoth is trying to take you to, you know it existed prior to all of this shit that we're talking about. So that's what they're saying here. It would eliminate that. And that's impossible. That would just be kindergarten knowledge impossible. Okay, because all of these things come after the fact. Your Genesis and Bible story and mythology comes way after the fact. Your Quran comes even longer way after the fact when we're dealing with monotheism. And then even when we're going back to ancient grimoires or ancient spiritual texts that predate biblical times that may go back 6,000 years or more, because that's the other flawed problem when it comes to religion, those texts only take you back to a 6,000 year history. And come on, we know in this day and time, we know we as human beings go way back beyond 6,000 years. I mean, you could just find simple carbon and fossil dating in certain cultures that smashes that, which smashes the origin of the biblical story of creation, etc. But anyway, not to waste too much time on that. That's for a whole nother time. All right, back to the chaos, okay? Even flawed practice can work wonders and has even made it possible for a more sinister tree to take root and grow. Our practice only becomes flawed once we become aware of the flaw. Say that again. You can't fix a flaw, right, or a mistake if you're not aware of the mistake, right? That applies across the board to everything in life. It's like somebody who has issues or problems. They can't fix the problem until they recognize they have a problem, right? That's just common sense. Well, even though it's a basic common sense principle across the board in all areas of life, that applies to this when we're working magic. It's no different, okay? Those willing may correct their practice and thereby evolve as ministers of darkness. But before we can correct our Kabbalistic practice, we must end our Kabbalistic practice. Here's important. I've been saying this for years. We must think in new ways, creating new algorithms and distorting old ones. What have I been saying the last several years, on and off in videos? In order for you to truly evolve on this path, you must give up all those old ways and methodologies. You must change and transform them into greater ones. I've said for many times over the years, people come on this path from previous systems and they bring those old ways, practices, and ways of thinking with them. And then they're approaching their left-hand path of cult work, or whatever you want to call it, path of self-mastery, what I like to call it, and they're using all of those old religious methodologies in nature. And you're not going to get results. You're going to struggle. And you could see it in their approach. You could see it in the verbiage that they use. You can see it in their understanding. Now, look, all of us are going to have to check ourselves from time to time, because you're always going to have some of that residue, especially if you were raised, let's just say you came up through a strict Christian household, and say you come on the path in your later years or your older and more mature years. You got to remember, that's years of indoctrination that has to be processed and filtered out. That's not going to go away overnight, and that's okay. But as it said here, as long as you recognize the flaw, you can correct it and work on it. But when you don't see it and you can't correct it and you can't work on it, then that flaw becomes more stronger, becomes more powerful, even to the point where it can create disruptions or problems when it comes to your spiritual growth and evolution. That's the difference. All right. So we have to be conscious and aware of that. All right. All right. We must think again, this is where we left off, in new ways, creating new algorithms and distorting old ones. This is the goal of rising on the plains. There is no need to create entirely from scratch or reinvent the fiery wheel. Qabbalah as a type of occult filing cabinet and magical system is perfect, right? But Qabbalah as a means of first self-deification and then self-destruction is lacking in its current form. A new Qabbalah is required, one that can be used by both the magician, who means to perfect black magic, and the mystic who yearns to return to chaos. This new system, built upon the corpses of the old, changes both the tree of life, the glyph, and the basic principles of the Qabbalah. And while it originates from Qabbalah, we cannot rightly call this new system of black magic Qabbalah, because it adheres to neither Jewish nor Hermetic stands. A new name is required for our new weapon, which leads us to the tree of death. Why is it called the tree of death? Because again, here we hear that term death. On the surface, we're told, oh my God, death, that's nothing positive. That means something bad, something negative. No, in order for something to remanifest, for something to resurrect, for something to be deconstructed and reconstruction, in this case, old ways and old things and everything connected to it must die. That's what it meant when it said you must change all the old ways, change the algorithms, and come up with new ways, new methodologies. That would be the concept on the left-hand path in the occult of remanifestation, or as we like to say in certain areas of study, the isolated consciousness of Set, a nonconformist way of thinking, where somebody on this path has to have that isolated consciousness of Set or approach, because Set represents all of these things we're talking about now, where it's a set mindset, right? Listen to the word mindset, because you're not conformist, you're not going with the norm, you're not agreeing with spiritual things or concepts because everybody else does. You're going more along based on your study, your research, and you are grafting, weaving, and creating your own path that works for you. Now, we have to be mindful of this. Is it going to be the same exact method and approach for everybody? Absolutely not. So there's not one set way that's going to work for everybody. And anybody that tells you that is full of shit or just might be ignorant and just don't know. It's just what they were told. That's why religions and established dogmas don't work. That's why people outgrow them or they feel like I can't stay in this shit no more. Enough's enough. It's the same repetitive nonsense. I feel like there's more. And this is why most of us left and we're here. Because we know there's more things. There's more, aspects to this than what we were told. Okay? So this is why we are on this path seeking. So there's no such thing as one 100% foolproof, absolute way to do anything. It doesn't exist. Trust me when I tell you. The biggest mistake you will go into is thinking that it does. And you'll make your life more complicated and complex trying to search for something that does not exist. And then you will even feel guilty about it when you start developing your own ways that are in opposition to this so-called concept that is the only right way to do things. You must change the old ways of how you think through those systems of indoctrination. If you don't, nothing changes. Trust me when I tell you. All right? Let's continue. Let's talk about the tree of death. I'm going to finish with this last section here, then I'll take not going to stay on too long, maybe about 2 hours max. I want to finish the tree, and then I'm going to stop there. All right? And I'll take this up because it's a lot to go over. But I wanted to basically talk about Qlippothic sorcery, the Qabbalah, the tree of death, how this all ties in. And again, to help you in your approach. Now, take this and utilize it how you see fit and how you need to, as far as how you can apply this in your work. I'm just throwing out ideas, concepts. It's up to you to take it and see how you could utilize it and make it work for you. Nobody can do that for you but you. And you must understand that. So you can read all the books you want. You can get all the advice you want. That's cool. But at the end of the day, when you're in that chamber and it's just you and you, none of that stuff can help you. Because then you will be tested and you will see how much power you either do have or maybe how much power you don't really have. Okay? Based on your experience, the results you get, what you're going to go through in that work. That's when it comes down to you. No book can help you at that time. No elder, no teacher, no whatever. This is why I've always said for years, it comes to a point. At what point does the student let go of the teacher's hand and become the master themselves? Nobody's answered that question for me. I keep getting interpretations of it. There's a simple answer to it. I'm talking about people that are still trapped in the Mickey Mouse clubs, following, being part of organizations because they think they signed up for something, got a membership card, and went through I went through all that shit, whether it's Masonry, OTO, the Rosicrucian Order, you name it, Temple of Set. I went through all that shit. They're good learning experiences, but at the end of the day, still you get to part in that journey where it's just you. And it's what I've said for years. There will be a time where you'll be tested to show and prove the power and ability of your magic. Because all the Mickey Mouse clubs, groups, and organizations you belong to, all the teachers and elders that you came up under over the years, they were helpful guides and tools to hopefully get you to the point where you stand on your own too. Because that's when you're going to really know if you have power. Not because I belong to such a group for 20 years. Shit, I've been a Mason for over 20 years. That don't mean shit. It means absolutely nothing. See, the other problem is we get caught up in titles. See, I love that. You go in all these circles, priest this, priestess this, doctor this, right? And most of them don't even have any credentials. They're just self-given, self-created credentials, but it creates the illusion he's a doctor or she's a doctor or pastor this, reverend this, or priest this, or priestess this, or elder this. You know, it sounds fancy, it sounds heavy, it sounds deep, it sounds impressive. But you know what? At the end of the day, to me, and I'm sure to some of you guys watching and listening, it means absolutely nothing to me. Because you know what? I have all those titles. I've obtained all those titles through my study. I don't use them. I don't connect with them because they're all superficial. They don't mean anything if you cannot apply all that knowledge and information in your everyday life and your work and get results. If you can't do it, who gives a shit? It's the same thing. I'm not impressed with people that can regurgitate knowledge. They think it's impressive. They've read 1 million books. I've probably read more books than anybody I've run into. Doesn't mean shit though. Because if I can't take all that information I read and I can't see it as a living proof and example in my everyday life, it's a waste. So if you come up to me and you're spitting all this heavy knowledge, you read all these books, but no offense, don't take it the wrong way, but I got to call for what it is. But you're driving a hoopty, a rundown piece of shit car, you're struggling in every aspect of your life on a personal and professional level, then it shows me you can't transition any of that spiritual stuff into your everyday objective and physical life. And that is important on this path. Other paths say, oh, no, that's not important. Don't be in the world. Fuck all that bullshit. Anybody that tells you that usually is unsuccessful, poor, and broke, and don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So sell that bullshit to somebody else. That's all those spiritual guru paths. Don't be coming in my face talking about giving me health advice and you coughing and shit all the time, and you're out of shape, and you all fucked up. And when it comes to areas of physical health, I'm not taking no advice from you. Don't tell me how to invest money and your ass is pissed broke, or you're always running some Ponzi or pyramid scheme. That's the other problem with a lot of us. Oh, well, we've got these, you know, you see it now with the Bitcoin. How many of these Bitcoin groups are out there now? Sign up under me. If you sign up under me and get somebody else to sign up under you, that signs up. It's all bullshit. Anybody intelligent can see through that nonsense. That's what we do. I'm not interested in all that because I figured out how to do Bitcoin for myself. I don't need nobody. I don't need to sign up under no group. I took the time to educate myself, gather my own resources. I'm not going to get into all that here because this shit is irrelevant. But my whole point is real simple. If you can't apply the information or knowledge you claim to have, and it doesn't resonate as a reflection and can be seen in your everyday life by the example you set, how you live your life, and you're not getting results, then I'm not interested. I don't care what you know. You're a walking dictionary. You're a walking encyclopedia, abundance full of book knowledge. But what good is that shit if you can't apply it? You understand what I'm saying? It just doesn't mean nothing to me. It just means you read a lot of books. You can regurgitate. I could do that too. I could be here all day. I could sit here and talk from today and for days from now nonstop when it comes to just overall knowledge and information. But at the end of the day, what the fuck does that mean? The difference of what I do than what some other people do here, and if those that take the classes, you know, it's not just about talking. We do work in these classes. I want to know, where's the body of work? You got a lot of these people on YouTube and all these other platforms spitting knowledge, regurgitating shit. Where is the work, though? Where is the ritual work that the practitioner can do hands-on to get results, to change and transform their life? Show me that. Don't read about, don't give me a history lesson. Don't just break down information from a book. See, if I use a book, I'm not just reading from it. I'm reading, stopping, and breaking it down. I'm giving you the source, so then you can go look at it yourself, and you might get a whole different perspective, and that's the point. Give the sources, give the body of work, apply the work through the knowledge that you gain. That's how you apply the work. If you can't do any of that, it's pointless. It doesn't matter. You sound heavy. That's all it is. You sound heavy. Yeah, back in ancient Egypt and blah, blah, blah. Okay, blah, 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 blah. It's just sound like Charlie Brown to me after a while. Back in the day, I always run this and it gets quiet. You can hear crickets. You know, back in the day, we were kings and queens and pharaohs in Egypt. We were royalty. Then why the fuck are most people broke and struggling right now? All right, I'm going to give you the answer because I can already hear all the preconceived answers. I never seen a broke-ass pharaoh in Egypt. Show it to me, somebody. If you're talking royalty, there was no royalty that was pissed broke on that level. Show me. And don't make the excuse, well, we're living in a day and time, or the white man is holding me down, or the system, or society. So now you're saying there's a power and a force out there that's superior that you're inferior to. So you can't be a God. Don't tell me there's some force, whether it's a race of people, an entity, a system, a government. Yes, we know that exists, but a true God knows how to overcome and navigate through that. Okay? We see what's going on in the world, and it's getting crazy. Global warming now. Look at all the flooding that's going on now. Tried to tell y'all back 20 years ago. If you was following me and with me back then, even though I wasn't mainstream on these platforms like I am now, I'm not new to this shit. I've said that many times before. If you just stumbled across me, don't get it twisted. I'm not a Johnny-come-lately new YouTuber. I was on the streets and in public forums for years before I even did this. Okay, this is not some new shit I just picked up a couple years ago because I got interested in it. I've been doing this shit since the late 80s. Just you may never just not have heard of me. And that's okay. I'm not in this for popularity contest to be liked. I'm in this to just pass along information. And I don't do this shit for a living. Okay, I'll make that clear. Because you have some other YouTubers who are on here, they got spiritual hustles on the side. I have my own business, my own career, my own profession. Okay, I do this on the side because I love to do it. So I don't rely on this. Let's establish that. And I'm not a Johnny-come-lately, so don't get it fucking twisted. But I told you there's great change. People scream that they want change, but they don't want to go through any sacrifice for that change. Well, you're seeing the change now. You got a pandemic. You got global warming. You got flooding in proportions that you've never seen before. Those that don't get it are freaking out, panicking. Us who know what's going on and we're in tune with the micro and the macrocosm, we're just looking at this as part of the process, part of the change. And those that are in tune are going along and moving with change. Those that are confused and that are being shaken into fear and panic, then are not going along with the change. These are the ones that are going to struggle. And I've been going back to the videos, going back to since I've been on here, 13, 12, 14, whenever I first came on here, before I even knew anything about YouTube, I was telling you that this was coming. Back when it was talking about 2012, right? I had to go back to some of them old videos I did. I told y'all what they were trying to prep you for. What they was prepping you for then, you're seeing happening right now. So to us, we're looking at it like, this shit is playing out. They're now saying that the temperature has almost raised a degree, 1.5 degrees Celsius. And it's about a half a degree to a degree away where it's going to cause even worse flooding in urban areas where it's extremely hot. And they were likening it more to blacks and Latinos are going to suffer more severe sickness and illness due to this. What are we doing to prepare for this? No, we're too busy sitting around talking about, was Jesus black? And was the Israelites this and that? And the Bible says this and that. Who gives a fuck about any of that shit? We got other shit going on. What are we doing to prepare ourselves to secure some type of future for our children moving forward? What about that? I don't give a fuck about no Bible arguments. Please, don't waste my time with that nonsense. We see what's going on, not because it's on the news. We see it in real time going on around us. And I said, the problem is some people don't do anything about it until it comes to their front door. That's the problem, because that's how we've been programmed. Oh, it's not directly affecting me. I don't care. Doesn't mean you don't prepare. So I'm not interested, were the Israelites real? Was Metu Neter a spoken language? Guess what? In 2021, going into 2022, it ain't going to do shit for you. So what? If Metu Neter was a spoken language, you speak it. How the fuck is that going to help you right now? Just show me what benefit does it have other than you sound cool, deep, heavy, and you think you know something. It's not going to do anything for you, bottom line. While you're doing that ignorant ass shit, I'm formulating a plan for my future. I'm trying to make my money get paid. I'm trying to secure my family and generational wealth. I'm building things. I'll leave it at that, building things, okay? While you fools are arguing on the internet about what are Israelites this, the Torah was this and that, who was first, see, that's the game that they want you to get caught up in. So you guys go ahead and do that bullshit. I'm not talking to, anybody in particular out there, because I would like to think people that follow this channel know better. I think we're making more realistic and real plans. You know how many clients I talk to, and when you get into finances with them, they know nothing about it? That's the one problem we lack as people on this path in general, people in general, we don't know money and how it works and how it operates. We don't know what generational wealth is. And be careful, because now you got all these leeches and parasites on the internet talking about they're going to show you how to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. That's becoming a conscious pimping game too. Be careful. Do your research. I'm not saying that all of them are bad platforms. I just don't need them because I'm doing my own thing. But be careful, because that's becoming now a trendy in hustle now. You understand? But what are you doing as far as when it comes to, when I'm saying securing your future, I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about when you're gone. If you have a family, even if you don't, you don't have to have kids, even your family, or your legacy, what are you leaving behind? And if it all got wiped away tomorrow, can you actually say, I've left a lasting impression and I stamped my legacy here? I can say if I leave, my name alone, I've left a legacy. I know that for sure. That's facts. Okay? That's facts. What legacy are we leaving for those, and what are we leaving behind when we leave here? Okay? This is important. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Gotta take some. So yeah, we have to keep this in mind. And then now I'm seeing another trendy thing that I've mentioned a few times in the last few months in videos. I see this alien shit is popping up everywhere again. Now everybody's getting caught up in the alien hype. There's aliens coming here. Look, I've said many times before, of course there's other intelligent life in the universe. But when you turn it into a motherfucking religion and use it as a fear tactic, they're coming here for control of the planet. Again, you're saying you have no control over your existence. There are other inferior forces out there that are more powerful to you. And if something happens, there's nothing you can do. You might say, no, that's not what I'm saying. Yes, it is, in a non-direct way. So if there are aliens, let's just say you're a person that believes that there's aliens coming, there's going to be an alien invasion. I couldn't give a fuck if it happened tomorrow, next week, 6 months from now, 6 years from now, when I'm gone. Because if it happens, it happens. I'll just put my head between my legs and kiss my ass goodbye, and hopefully it goes quick. I'm not going to live my life in fear, wondering, though, if, when, where, why, and how. Okay? This is the whole point. Okay? So if you're in that frame of mind of thinking based on fear, and that there's something outside of you that has control on you, this ain't the path for you. Go back to doing whatever the fuck you was doing. You're wasting your time. We don't accept that, okay? Nor will we ever accept that. That's for weak-minded, mentally indoctrinated individuals. And that's cool. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But don't get upset with us who are on this path and have this mentality and way of thinking. It's also our choice. And look, I respect everybody's perspective as long as you don't try to force it upon me. I don't force my way of thinking or perspective upon anybody. Like I said, this channel is just to put information out there. I ain't trying to recruit nobody for shit or none of that. I've said that a million times over the years. It's just information. You do with it when you see fit. Love it, like, or hate it. That's your own personal opinion. I don't care. That's personal. I'm not interested. And believe me, I don't lose no sleep over it. Once this camera goes off, this shit is all memory to me. I focus on what I got to do when this camera's off. I don't sit here thinking about anything or anybody on YouTube. That's why I turn the comments off for the videos. I'm not going to get into back and forth debate and fuckery, because my goal isn't trying to just get on here and prove my point and that I know everything and get my way across. That's not why I do it. People always ask, oh man, well, why don't you turn the comments on so we can comment on the videos? No, I'm not going to watch, not just so you can make stupid comments, but I'm not going to watch you guys argue amongst each other. Just don't have time for it. That's not the purpose of the channel. I know, yeah, other platforms do it because this is what they do. They like that. I'm not interested in any of that. I don't care for it. I don't want nothing to do with it. And that's not the purpose and the intent of the channel. The channel is just to put information out there. What you do with it and how you see fit, that's up to you. I don't care. All right, let me finish this and then we're going to I'll take some of your questions. It's getting close to that time. I got one more little section here. All right. The name given to this new Qlippothic Qabbalah is Qabbalah with a Q, an obvious play on the word Qabbalah. But there's an esoteric meaning. The additional B symbolizes the ejection of Samael's venom into the system of the Qabbalah. That's why I said, who facilitates the tree? Why do they call it Samael's venom? Okay? Because the poisonous venom of Samael destroys, what's up? Oh, destroys all the old ways of thinking, the old mentality, all those old algorithms, the monotheistic thought. He poisons the ways of El. Who is El? The monotheistic God. So that's why I said all those ways have to be destroyed. When you connect with the Samael current, you understand that. I know some call him the angel of death, not because he's the grim reaper and he just gathers the souls of the physical dead. He's the angel of death because he destroys the old ways within the individual, he or she. If you really work with Samael, you understand that. If you don't, you're probably working with some incorrect aspect. And Samael is not an energy to take lightly. It is very intense. It brings in an influx of varying degrees of emotions, happiness, sadness, joy, elation, power. But he makes you feel all of those things and understand them and experience them so you can master and control them. You must experience what one would label as those negative things as sadness, you know, and things we would label on the surface as negative. Why? So you can understand them. Because if we're just taught to avoid, run, hide, protect yourself from them without experiencing or indulging, how can we truly master them? Okay? Can't do it. All right. So Samael's venom into the system of Qabbalah as the letter B or bet, B-E-T in Hebrew, maintains the numerical value of 2. The number of adversity. Further, we may examine the mathematics and note that the Hebrew for the word Qabbalah is comprised of the letters Kaf, Bet, Lemed, and He, giving the word the gematria value of 137. In sinister gematria, the number is the least of the satanic numbers, because while its individual parts combined totals 11, notice 11 is what? 11 Qlippots. These same parts individually exalt the God. The 1 represents the unity of God, the 3 his trinity, and the 7 symbolizes the wholeness of his creation. That's also powerful numbers in Masonry. If you're a Mason, you would understand that even further. Only in adding these individual numbers together, we arrive at what? 11, right? 1, 3, 7, 11. That's why there's 11 Qlippots, right? Because the final outcome of God's creation will be destruction and the return to chaos. What's the old saying? In order for something to be built, something must be destroyed. Our universe and our planets in our universe were created through the destruction of what? A sun collapsing, right? All you got to do is go read basic science and it tells you this central sun. That's how all these planets were formed, from stars that exploded and expanded out into the universe, creating other planets. And guess what? Our planet, as it goes through its cycle, when it eventually burns out and dies, and other planets are formed. It's a regenerate. That's why we say we deal with cyclical time, not linear time, right? And that's why there's no such thing as a beginning or an end when you understand what cyclical time is, or cycle time, as opposed to linear time. Linear time puts a beginning and an end on things. And it confuses the individual because it leaves him trapped in the middle, right? And the Bible promotes it on. I am Alpha and I am Omega. I don't even want to get into that nonsense, but you get my point, okay? We don't deal with that. You must understand that so you can think outside of it, right? So the final outcome of God's creation will be destruction and the return to chaos, primordial chaos. However, with the addition of the second bet, we create the sum of 139, which totals 13. 13 is the Qlippothic 11 plus the adversarial 2 of Samael, which is the formula by which the Qlippoth manifests themselves to us with some type of form or physical sensation. So this is how we connect with the energy on a physical level. Now, I've always said, when you're connecting with spirits and demons, get out of your mind. 99.9% of the time, you're not going to see this Hollywood interpretation. Now, you may create a visual in your mind because you've stamped that in your mind, but 9 out of 10 times, it's an energy. I keep trying to tell you, these are energies that we're talking about that are activated through the psyche. And when you understand how they work, then you can make that physical connection on this level. And it's not always in the form of some visual, right? You must understand that. People get trapped in that, all right? The non-physical Sitra Akra, right, which is the other side, as you go, once you go through the entire Qlippothic, now Lilith, who takes you from the 10th to the 11th in the Qlippothic, guides you to the Sitra Akra or the other side. She is there reaching out to the initiate to guide them through the other side if they have shown that they've raised themselves up to the level of understanding to do that. And once you Sitra Akra, there's no turning back at that point. It could either do you good or tremendous harm. You can't turn back after that. All right? Some do, and things go haywire for them. All right? Okay, the non-physical Sitra Akra 11 desires to manifest to physical 2 and does achieve physical manifestation through the influence of Black astrology, most notably through the Black Sun. I would refer you to the book Black Ship by Malthus when he talks about the pandemonium demons of the Black Sun. This is the formulation of chaosophy or chaos, right? The Black Sun or the demons of the Black Sun, it connects you to two things. This right here is your solar plexus, right? Your heart chakra, which is connected to this area, is the root of all your emotions, energy, and power. Okay? Get this through your heads. And from there is where that power is harnessed. And there's literally a sun that burns here because it's solar and energy. Okay? It's because, look, you breathe in oxygen, you exhale carbon dioxide. And the ancient Philosians or the Ether Utopians taught this. So if we're breathing in oxygen and we're exhaling and giving off carbon dioxide, does not fire require the same two elements to keep burning? A fire needs oxygen to continue to burn. And when a fire is burning, it gives off carbon dioxide. So if we as humans are doing the same thing, and they call this the solar plexus, are they literally telling us to some degree there's a fire burning within us? Yes, the circulatory system, the infusion of blood being part, that is all connected to that. And when you understand that process and how it connects to activating portions of your spirituality, it takes on a whole different meaning and it removes the spookism. Not many people are equipped to go through that understanding. And I say that not because they're not smart enough to, they may not be willing to give up the old ways of thinking too, is why I'm saying that. Okay? That's facts. All right? All right, last paragraph, and then I'll take some questions and wrap it up. All right. What is curious about Qabbalah aside from the number games? Is it that it may be divided into two additional Hebrew words, Qab and Bala? Qab means something hollowed out and referred to a unit of both dry and wet liquid, about 2 quarts. The second word, Bala, means wasted away. So when you're saying Qabbalah, you're saying dried out and wasted away from what? Or decaying. That which is hollowed out and decaying. Most people don't even know that. I always ask them, what does the word Qabbalah mean? Huh? So fuck, you're going to use it and you don't know what it means. It's just like you ask most religious people, most, not all, what does the word Bible mean? Where does it come from? Huh? It's a Greek word biblios, which means books, right? You don't even know what the word on the cover of your book means. So how in the world can I even debate with you what's on the inside when you don't even know the basic word on the outside of the book? See the stupidness in that? So while Qabbalah means to receive knowledge by eating from the tree of life, Qabbalah means to receive knowledge by eating from the tree of death. Because while the God feeds the good man, the evil man must pluck those apples for himself. So he's not waiting for the spook God to do it for him. You understand that? It's a path of self-mastery, doing for self. All right? I'm going to stop there. I'll take some questions up until time permitting. I'm going to scroll to the top. I'm not going to go in any particular order. Don't look like there's too much in here. But let's see what we got. All right, infernal blessings to all. What's going on, Rabbeina? I'm not sure if you're still in here. Sperling Lily. Brian Gerard, finally, I got you live. Hello, Brother Me. It's always a good day when you do a video. Have a blissful day, blissful Friday. Being this day, my friends. I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Ado A, infernal blessings. I don't really see too much in here. Sperling Lily, yeah, all my tattoos are still, yeah, well, I got a few too. They take on significance. And speaking of that, since you bring up tattoos, please, people, if you do get tattoos, I'm not too crazy with it. There's people out there that are nuts with it. Please know what you are carving in your body, because those symbols, regardless of what it is, carry energy. I want to make this clear. And when you're stamping that energy on you, make sure it's an energy that's productive, that you understand, that you can work with. Also understand it's like choosing a name. Your name carries energy. It means something, whether it's your English name. If you do the research, even our English names break down and mean something. We must understand that. When you take these spiritual names, I know people that are part of all these different conscious spiritual movements, they take on all these names like Seti Ra Horus and all this other shit or whatever. Make sure you're taking it because you have that personality, characteristics of that name. You can live up to that name. Don't just take it because you like the shit. It sounds good. It sounds heavy. Or you're trying to impress people. My name is such and such. Right? Names, symbols, sigils, they all carry energy. Right? And when you're carrying that energy and you're stamping yourself with that energy, you better be able to harness it and facilitate it. So when it comes to tattoos, and I've always had this discussion with many dudes over the years, going back to the 90s, 80s and 90s, when tattoos really started to become even more mainstream and popular. You remember back a while back, it might have been the 90s, early 2000s, where everybody was putting Japanese writing and getting those Japanese designs on their arms. I used to ask, brother, like, what does that mean? I don't know. It looks cool. Well, you don't know what the fuck it means. It could say, I'm a fucking idiot. And you walking around with that shit on your arm. And the only response you got is, or the only answer you got to that is, oh, it looks cool. I like the way it looks. But you don't know what it means. You don't know what it says. You don't know what it's, come on, man. That's foolishness to me, man. So especially, not just to men, to all you grown adults, male and female out there, if you're going to get tatted up, please make sure it means something and you know what it means. Don't just get symbols and images just because oh man, that looks so cool. Yeah, but what does it mean? And what am I stamping upon myself? Like I can break down all of these to you. The Ka, the all-seeing eye, the Sa, protection. These all access certain levels of spiritual consciousness, and I got them years ago because they mean something to me. And I use them in my spiritual work. Obviously, this is just because it's my favorite team, right? And there's actually a symbol behind that symbol. And this is why even if you're not a Yankees fan, a sports fan, a baseball fan, ask yourself, why is it one of the most widely used symbols when it comes globally across the board? There's a science behind that, all right? But very important. Don't mark yourself up with shit and you don't know what it is. Francisco Anderson says, glad I caught one of your lives. Appreciate it. Thunder 50. I'm not sure. I'm not understanding the two. You typed in two comments here. I'm not sure what it is in reference to. So I'm not sure if you're in here. Give more clarity. You put two statements in here. Don't have no clue what you're talking about. But wouldn't you be the God? Obviously, it was in reference to something we were talking about earlier. Refresh my memory. Can't answer that. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Second one was, so the monotheism is on your own self. Again, you're going to have to refresh, remind. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. So maybe if you're still in here, type something at the bottom and I'll try to address it without just rambling on, not knowing what you were talking about. Joe Gardens, we need the right hand to know we have a left. It's a nice little symbolic term. But remember, right-hand path and left-hand path are just terms. Left-hand path and right-hand path really, in essence, don't mean anything. They're just terms used to describe different approaches to spiritual knowledge. Left-hand path is just called left-hand path because, again, it's just a non-traditional approach to spirituality, where the right-hand path is the more acceptable approach. Yes, in the sense you do need an understanding of both, but we have to also recognize the left-hand path, the chaos, it starts there. And it's always taught to us reverse, where we're going to the more right-handed path philosophies first. So yes, you are correct. We need to harness both of those right and left-hand path, or light and dark energies, but it must start in the darkness first. And I wouldn't get too caught up in those terms. And as I've said many times over the years, I don't even really like to use the term left-hand path because of what's attributed to it. Most people hear left-hand path for the most part, and they automatically attribute it to the satanic church and Satanism. That's not what just left-hand path is. Is it a part of to a degree of that left-hand path movement? Yes, because it's a non-traditional, again, approach to spirituality. It's an adversarial current. Anything that is an adversarial path is left-hand path in nature. Anything that is a traditional mainstream conformist path, like Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, whatever, that would be considered right-hand path. So those are just two terms to describe different paths. That's it. I don't like to get caught up in that. That's why I like to refer to this path as a whole, as a path of self-mastery, because you're utilizing all of this information, but in the correct formula, but also understanding the right context. So I don't get too caught up in that, but I get your point. I understand what you're saying. All right, Liz M says, if you can't name your demons, you will never control those fears. True indeed. All I know is that you can't be afraid of what you will lose in exchange of self-mastery. We'll lose a lot. That comes along the line of understanding wants and needs. See, we don't understand the process and how it works because most of us are confused because our priorities in life, we think we're trying to obtain our needs, but we realize as we go through this path that these aren't really needs, these are wants. And when you learn to put your wants on the back burner and deal and address your needs first, all the wants and desires are naturally going to fall into place. But when the wants supersede the needs, this is where it becomes complex. That's where the fear comes in. That's where the struggle comes in, as you say, not facing these things. But when you're real with yourself and go, you know what, these are my needs, this is what I got to work on, I got to deal with this, and all this stuff that I've been doing that I thought I needed, these are not really needs, they're wants. So I got to put that on the back burner and start to devise a plan of how I can address this. A good place to do that and a good method to do that is through shadow work. That's why we do shadow work. Shadow work helps you identify that process. And that's why I say, if you're not doing real shadow work, it's a tough go. That's all I can say. It's a tough go for you. All right. What else we got here? Again, a couple more comments from Luz. In my strongest point of my life, in all aspects, while everything is falling off, the path is not for the weak, and it's not. Shadow work, which I just said, is mandatory. Sekhmet came in and showed me what a warrior I am, and Sekhmet is a great archetype to uncover the hidden self because she is just that, a warrior energy. And I've said many times over the last several years, and it's not to categorize any of the female archetypes, I've always, in my opinion, have said Sekhmet is one of the most powerful energies amongst the female archetypes that I've ever worked with because she brings very intense transformational change. She makes the initiate see what's fucked up about them, what they need to work on, and kind of brings it in stages where, look, put your big boy pants on and your big girl drawers on. You're getting ready to go on a roller coaster ride. Here's your bullshit. Let's deal with it. Let's get to work in and do it. That's how the energy works. And as I said many times before, many people approach this path, start doing rituals and shit, underestimating the intensity of how that change comes. How many emails? I've gotten hundreds upon hundreds of emails over the last several years. I started doing work with Set. It fucked me up. It did all this crazy shit started happening. I lost my job. I got into a car accident. My wife or my husband left me. Because you asked for change. You approached the spirit to remove out of your life what needed to be removed so you can walk the path you needed to walk. And unfortunately, they might have been the X factor that was in the way. You didn't look at it like that because you went in with a preconceived notion of how you thought it was going to happen. So how do you prevent from being a victim to that? Going in with a clear mind and willing to embrace the change. Now, if you're able to identify what some of those problems are going in, it's easier to embrace the change. But when you have this self-created preconceived notion, man, your feelings are going to get hurt. Trust me when I tell you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So yes, it can be very intense. Liz also says, but I did the work and I raised myself up to the challenge, not falling on my knees in prayer and supplication. Only darkness can lead to true light. Glad to catch a lie. Appreciate it. Shout out to brother Duma. He's the brother in there, Duma Ken Rez. I know I haven't seen him in a few, but I always like to plug him in. I know somebody reached out to me last week. I gave him your contact. Again, if you're looking for somebody that makes occult pieces, occult jewelry, inbox that brother. I've gotten some pieces from him, and people have reached out to me, and I've referred them to him. So I want to plug him in. You'll see him in the chat as Duma Ken Rez. Duma, also, I always forget your Instagram. If you're still here, type in the chat your inbox where people can reach you if they want further information on what type of jewelry and what type of things you do. So I want to plug Brother Duma in, Mystic Moons, Infernal Blessings. All right. Yes. Good comment by Mystic Moons. Let me elaborate on this real quick. She says, one must die to be reborn. I've been teaching people for years. You will die many deaths in this lifetime. We go through many phases and existences and ways of living in our life that once we're done living them, they die. They become, we lived it, we mastered it, it now becomes just a part of our existence, and we move on and evolve into something else. Anytime, like if you left a previous path to come here, you died a spiritual death. Say you left Christianity and put it all aside, and you took the initiative to come on the adversarial path. Well, you died a death, and now you're going through that rebirth process. This happens many times on many different levels in our life. We go through these rebirth, these deconstructive, reconstructive, or death, rebirth, renewal periods, because this is how we go through these changes. And they're different phases of our existence, our life. And literally, I can attest to over the years, especially as you get later on and you become more experienced on the path, you literally feel like some of those lives were so long ago. They might have been 5, 10 years ago. I look at what I might have been doing 5, 10, 15 years ago. It seems like an eon ago, an eternity ago. It's almost like I didn't even live it in this life, in this physical existence that I'm conscious of now. Literally, it's how it feels sometimes. It feels like it was almost so long ago that it was a different me. It wasn't even me that I know I'm aware of now, because you're aware of the change and the awakening, right? So that's a powerful process that continuously, again, because we deal with cyclical time and cycles, that's something that constantly happens. And it's a powerful thing when you really embrace it, all right? What else we got? Yeah, I see Mystic Moons mentioned multiple streams of income. Yeah, man. Nowadays, you can't just do one thing. I do several different things. I got a couple of things going on simultaneously, just like I'm sure many of you guys do. We're not living in a day and time you can just maybe run one business, work one job, one career, right? Because obviously with the technology age and the information age, we have access to so many more things in real time and quicker. So we can do a lot of different things simultaneously, where back then, where we didn't have that ability and access and technology, a lot of people referred on running a full-time business only, or working a full-time job or a full-time profession. Those times have changed. That's what I was saying earlier. Stop worrying about getting to these debates over Hebrew and Egyptian debates and was Jesus real and was Abraham and they were prophets were black. While we're fussing and fighting, arguing over all that nonsense and stupidity, what are we doing to build and secure a future? Because we see the world is changing. Shit is happening. Stuff is popping off. Things are going on. What are you doing to ensure yourself that you're prepared? Are you building a future and a life that you're getting ready to leave behind for those that are still here? Especially if you have children and a family. Are you leaving your legacy here if you don't? Because that's how you know you lived an impactful life, if you can stamp and leave a legacy here. If the only legacy you leave in here is that you're a great debater and you like to argue and you think you know everything and you read 100 million books and you're walking around with your chest all puffed in the air, I'm so fucking smart and I know everything and nobody's on my level, you know, all that false pride and ego is just, you know, running through your veins, and you're just a fool. You're like the Joker in the tarot deck, you know. you're an idiot, pretty much. That's what you are. You're an idiot. There's no other way to put it, because that's not going to really do anything for you when shit hits the fan. And when it comes down to it, it's not going to do anything for you. This is about preparing ourselves, taking this knowledge to master ourselves. So when any of these changes come our way, we have the ability to work through, navigate, and master them. Because that's the whole concept of set, making order out of chaos, set and a pep. Set teaches us. We know chaos will always find its way through. That's why Ra couldn't destroy a pep in them stories. He was trying to kill a pep. And Set said, no, Pop, get out the way. I'm not the junior in this situation. You're the junior. I'm the god. Step aside. You don't know what you're doing. That's why Set sits at the nose of the boat. When you read the story of the journey of Ra to the underworld, who's sitting on the nose of the boat, navigating and guiding the boat through the underworld? It's Set. Who's the one that's able to get him through the gates when he encounters a pep? Set. See, people fail to realize Set was one of the most revered and highly revered deities in ancient Egypt. That changes in the last dynasties when the Osirian cult took. Set had the place Osiris has, or Osir in the underworld that you know of now in the later 46 last dynasties. Prior to that, that was Set's role. That got switched around. Go do your research. Set was the one who assisted Ambu and Anubis, guiding the soul through the underworld. That concept with Osiris doesn't come in until after the 21st, 22nd dynasty. Go do your research. So all these fools that are out here, oh, Set represents the devil. Why? Because you're still religious? What the fuck does that mean? He's a devil type of character. Because they're all programmed. They just use comedic information, but just sprinkle it with all this religion because they don't understand it. They think they do, but they don't understand it. It's the way it is. But yes, good point. We must all die in order to be reborn. What else we got? All right, a couple more here. I'm getting hungry. I'm about to wrap this puppy up. I haven't eaten shit really all day. Adam says, do you work with Samael? If so, what have you petitioned him for and what have you worked with him with? Can you thoroughly describe what exactly he helped you when you petitioned him? Well, I'm not sure if you were on earlier. I was talking about that. I definitely work with Samael. I consider him one of my Patreon archetypes. I'm not going to get into a lot of personal things what I petition and work for because some of that stuff is very personal. So I'm not going to get on here and talk about any of that. But as I described earlier, you must understand what he represents and when you're working with him, what to expect, okay? He's helped me with a lot. I will describe, just briefly or overall in a simplistic way. He's really helped me understand, destroy a lot of weaknesses about myself, a lot of personal fears, a lot of anxieties, a lot of struggles. He's made me understand in areas where I had the wrong perspective on things. He's taught me some hard-earned life lessons in my approach in myself and dealing with others. Now, that breaks down into a lot of personal things on an individual level, but again, that's personal. I'm not going to talk about that here. But that's why, they talk about his intoxicating venom. And in my experience, his intoxicating venom represents all the influx of the power of the emotions. He really makes you understand the root of your emotions, of all of those: happiness, sadness, joys, fears, elation, power, because you must really be able to tap into them and understand them so you can master them and facilitate them. And it's something that we work with regularly on the path, especially the Qlippothic, right? If you do Qlippothic work, you work with Samael, okay? All right, what else we got? And then Adam said, when you mean God, do you mean Yahweh? Well, I'm not sure. Well, there's many times when when we're talking about the biblical God, we're talking when I'm saying God, I'm referring to the monotheistic God. Now, whether you're using the term Yahweh, which is a very poor translation because Yahweh was a very corrupted name of Yahuwah, right? There was no such term or name as Yahweh. It was a poor translation. And this is why when you go back, even like Jehovah, which is an even worse or poor translation because there's no letter J in the Hebrew alphabet. Yah and Veh really more comes from more modernized Hebrew, right? And it describes the dual nature of this God, or Ra and Tob, agreeable and disagreeable nature, which when you read the Bible, God has the Yah and Veh nature. So there was a disagreement amongst scholars, so they couldn't agree on the correct pronunciation of the name. So you'll find a lot of the ancient Hebrews referred to him as Hashem, right? The name. In essence, in all, regardless, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahuwah, we're talking about the biblical God. That's what I was referring to, if that's what you were referring to. But yes, I was talking about the biblical God, or whatever title or name they use for him. It's all the same nonsense. All right, what else we got? Okay, the book I was talking about for Joe Gardner's, the book I was talking about earlier, The Demons of the Black Sun, The Black Ship, it's called, The Black Ship by Malthus, Malphus. From what I've also been getting feedback in the last few weeks that it's out of print. I do know you can get a PDF of it on Scribed, scribe.com, which is a website I've mentioned for many years here. It's a membership website. I think it's like $6-7 a month. It's well worth it, in my opinion. It gives you access to tons of books. I have it, like I've said many times over the years, because I can preview books to really see if I want to get a hard copy of them. But I do know you can get a PDF up on it of Scribe. Problem is, it's not available to purchase from what I'm being told. I did check. They're selling it on Amazon, again, and other platforms for like, I think one copy was going for $2,000. I actually know the author. He actually lives here in Florida, who wrote the book. And I was going to make it my duty to reach out to see if he's going to put any more back in print. And as I said earlier, that's what happens when a lot of these books go out of print. You got, you got scavengers on the internet who are trying to take. I wouldn't pay for that shit for that. But if you really want it on Scribed, that's CRIBD.com. CRIBD.com. And not just for that book, I would recommend Scribe.com. It's a great resource. To me, it's better than Kindle, better than Amazon. You have PDF files that people upload of books on there, in addition to straight up like books you would get on Kindle. I mean, I have both. I have the Kindle and I have Scribed. I just like to have those when I'm out and about traveling. I mean, I prefer hard copies of books, nothing like having a good hard copy of a book in your hands. But there are some books, in my opinion, that I really don't want to spend the money on, that are not worth having a hard copy. So that's where a digital subscription like that comes into play and helpful, because you can preview a whole book, and then because it works both ways. You might preview a book, you're unsure, should I get it? And then you go read the digital and you're like, oh man, this is a really good book, I'm going to get it. And then I've seen it work the other way, where I'm thinking, oh, I heard this was good. I go read it. I'm like, man, this shit's garbage. I don't want to spend no money on this. But the couple of dollars a month for the membership, to me, is worth it. I'll check it out for anything, not just that. All right. What else we got? All right. So here, I love these questions. I'm not going to get too into this, because I've done classes over this going years back. This is old information. But I have some questions that arise from this question. All right. So the person Adam typed in, what were the first species of beings to exist? All right. I'll answer that briefly, and I'm not going to waste time on this. But I would also point the question, once you get that answer, or whatever your thought is, because I'm sure you have a concept that you've read or educated yourself that you think it is, how is that going to help you? That's number one. It's not, but I'm still going to answer the question. And then the second part of your question, when were they first originated? Anybody that can tell you, they can give you an exact year or time point is full of shit, because nobody can tell you that. Because that goes back millions of years. Because now you got to go into when meteorites have struck the planet. Prior to dinosaurs, there have been many replenishing periods. Yes, you can narrow it down, but anybody that can give you an exact year time frame is pointless. Again, my question would be to you, what's the point of that? And how's that going to help you in 2021 going into 22 with all that's going on? It's not. It's just a nice piece of information. And then your second question, your third one, was it dragons, reptilians, or grays? Now you're bringing in different species from different time periods, and time points. Actually, the first human beings on this planet, when you go do your research, real simple, they would be classified as hermaphrodites. And this is why when you go into a lot of your ancient grimoires, such as Hindu grimoires, for an example, this is why when you look at a lot of these beings, they look androgynous. They look kind of male and female together. It's purported, even Qlippothic is a good resource to go do a little research on that because he breaks it down. It's recorded, as you know, hermaphrodites, and they have what they call dual sex organs. Now it raises a bigger question. What is true gender, male and female? Now, some of them did tie into what we would know as reptilian or water being type species. Even when you go into ancient Egypt with the Ogdoad, and I will refer you to Dr. Delbert Blair, because he takes that back to the Dogons of Mali or West Africa. He takes it back to the ziggurat step pyramids, and he breaks down, because remember, Nun and Nunet, they were considered Ogdoads, reptilian beings. They were considered water beings. That's what the whole concept of the chaotic waters of Nun is. As far as the time frame, we're talking millions upon millions of years. I really couldn't give a shit. It's pointless to me because we know it exists. But if I told you 250 billion years ago, again, how is that going to help us in this day and time? It's an interesting conversation piece, but this is what I was saying earlier. We get caught up in these pointless debates. If we're saying it just to have an interesting conversation, cool. But if we're saying it because we think we're proving a point and we have some deep information, I taught all that stuff going back in the 80s and 90s before I was really into more important information of how to better myself. That's stuff that I was talking about, and anybody that's been around me, that's stuff we used to break down in classes, late 80s to early to mid 90s. We were talking about reptilians, grays, extraterrestrials, Shambhala and Agatar, the MJ12, all that stuff. We used to talk about all that stuff. Does that stuff exist? Is it real? In my opinion, from the research, yes, it is to a degree. But what happens is we can get so distracted by all that sensationalism. Again, my whole thing is, how's that going to help us, now? But interesting topic. But if we talk about who were the first physical beings to incarnate on the planet, we'd have to tie them into the reptilians and the hermaphrodite beings. Might be difference of opinion on that based on what school of thought or theory you're coming from. And I've heard them all. I've heard Dr. Delbert Blair, who I'm probably in alliance with his theory. I've heard Dr. York's perspective, which I'm not really in agreement with all of his theory because I believe he took a lot of shit from a lot of different areas, and that's cool. There's many different theories out there. Qlippothic, I agree with a lot of his stuff. But again, there's some I probably don't. But again, I just have to take it back. When we use just common sense, and we sit here and we pull this apart and plug it, how's that going to help us with what we got going on around us right now? It's not. It's just an interesting conversation. So I'm going to leave that there. All right, what else we got? All right, Duma, I see. Okay, so Duma's inbox on Instagram, Duma Ken Rez, same thing. And again, that's the brother I was saying earlier. I appreciate you putting that in, Duma. Contact him if you're interested in occult jewelry. He can create different pieces for you. I'm not going to speak on it because I know he does different type of work. He's actually made pieces for me. One piece I use right now, he made me a nice Lucifer sigil beaded. I use it for my rituals. I've mentioned it many times before. At first I wore it, but man, and Duma may not know this, but let me put this out there, Duma. That Santa Muerte statue and that Lucifer piece you made for me, you probably don't know the impact and what it's done for me and how I've utilized it in my work. You probably don't know, but it's been very impactful. And I can tell you the Lucifer sigil now is exclusively a ritual piece. I only use it just for ritual work. But I can attest to, from knowing Duma, and we go back because we come from a certain era and period together in school. He makes good stuff. So if you're interested, inbox the brother on Instagram, Duma Ken Rez. That's the brother, and you'll see him in the chat under Duma Ken Rez. That's also his Instagram name. So reach out to him. It's me. Do you have any videos talking about the Loa? Most definitely. Where? Go back. There's some there. I've done videos. I've done a series on Palo Mayembe. I've done series on Voodoo and Voodoo. We've done rituals here with Baron Samedi, some of the gay days and the laws, of course. On my Patreon page, there's a mentorship tier, which is tier 6, African witchcraft and sorcery. And I teach my students just that path. All of those paths, Voodoo, Palo Mayembe, Kimbanda, all of that. I teach a lot of people that in those private tiers and those mentorships. But yes, there are some videos here scattered on YouTube. Again, just go through the archives because, man, there's a few hundred. But most definitely, all right. Gerald Massey, very good book, a very good writer. Gerald Massey, I forgot his Genesis book. He's an old occult writer that he was really tackling the concepts of darkness and the adversarial path back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Phenomenal shit. Natural Genesis, I think, is the name of the book. It's one of his most popular writings. But definitely, I would encourage everybody to look into Gerald Massey's work. All right, I think we're at the bottom here. I think I see a few more. Kiona, what's going on? Infernal blessings, infernal greetings. Hope all is well. I haven't heard from you in a minute, so hope all is good with you. Yeah, his writing style will open you up. And the reason why I like a lot of those older occult writers, because a lot of those books back then were very unfiltered. I've talked about this a lot. Very unfiltered, raw. And just I believe it's Natural Genesis. Hold on, I have the book here. Hold on. Yeah, I just went and looked at it. It's Natural Genesis. That's a book that I've read by him a few times. Just couldn't, because there's a few books that locked in my head with that title Genesis in it. But there's a section in there where he breaks down what really darkness is and what the adversary is. It was just that to the ancients, darkness. It took form and image later through these different religious systems. But I think that was one of the most impactful things that I read. And when I stumbled across that, it was a while ago, it opened me up into the understanding of how limited our perception and way of thinking can be. But what it really opened me up to was the fact that we as humans and mortals still try to connect everything to man worship. That's what that book really opened me up to. And he's trying to say, no. He talks about how the ancients used the planets, how they governed and charted time with the stars, and how they used darkness as a powerful representation to understanding the mysteries of spirituality. It's no different than what we do today, right? And when you read that book, the deep thing about it is, keep in mind when Natural Genesis was written, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was very early 1900s. So we're talking about something that was written in the very earliest 19th, 20th century, somewhere in that area. So good stuff. All right. So Kiona, let me just read her comment, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up, people. Everything is amazing. Can't wait to give an update all from here. Good. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear you're going to join the Patreon. Liquids on Altars. Going down really fast. Thank you so much. Cool. All right, people. Again, before I leave, don't forget, check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Beniti, BANITI. Would encourage you to join Tier 3. Tomorrow we got the Qlippothic Kundalini Yoga meditation class. Powerful. We talk about a lot of good stuff in there. Got a lot of good foundational grounding, cleansing, and building up rituals. Don't forget to check it out. Patreon.com/Beniti, the Journey of the Black Adept Conference 4. It's a go. Nothing has changed. We are putting a cap on it. Right now, I know we have pretty much 9-10 people locked to come in person. It will be offered virtual and live. I would encourage you, if you're going to come live, contact me now and sign up, because we are going to put a head cap on that to probably around 25 people. Okay. All right. Somewhere in that area, give or take. If anything changes, and I don't really expect it to, because the way Florida has been approaching it with everything that's going on, we're gonna. I don't expect anything to change, and we will do this in the safest and the best method we can. We'll have just for those that may, as far as hand sanitizer and all the basics. I will have that there just so people can feel comfortable. We'll try to make sure people have space. I'm not going to crowd people. We'll do it in a very safe and effective manner just to make everybody feel comfortable. But I also know other problems could be from other states where you're coming from. That could be a problem because I know other states have different restrictions. But anyway, it's still a go here. Nothing has changed. We have locked up a new venue this year. All right, a better venue, more space. This will be the first time we've done it in a new venue. We did it in the same place the first 3 years. This is our 4th year doing it. It's growing. It's an annual event we do every year, the last weekend in October. It's a 3-day event of rituals, classes, workshops. We have a fun time. Then there's some socializing, some hanging out. We all get to know each other. We go out to eat. We have a little fun. I look forward to it. So good stuff. I know I spoke with some people today that are coming. So I'm looking forward to it. Other than that, check out the Patreon page again, patreon.com/Beniti. Don't forget also the new Primordial Chaos podcast, anchor.fm. That's the direct way to get to it. Just go to anchor.fm and just type in Primordial Chaos. And, boom, it'll take you right to it. It's also available on all major podcast platforms, Google, Apple, Spotify, etc. Radio Public, it's available on all those. Just go there and type in Primordial Chaos. I just uploaded some new content today. I'll be putting some on later in either tonight or tomorrow. I'll be posting a final reminder for the class tomorrow. We got a lot of good classes upcoming. We're going to be starting 2 new series, Sith Alchemy, and then we're going to be starting Eastern Occult, Left-Hand Path, Magic, and Mysticism, which we'll be dealing with all aspects of working with Melik Taus, Iblis, Shaitan, the Jinn, all those adversarial currents. Ahrimanic magic, which we're going to have a whole section of classes on working with Ahriman, which is a very powerful mask of the adversary. And that's going to be a long, ongoing series. In addition to the ones we got continuously going on, we have the Egyptian vampiric class. We've done 2 or 3 of them already. So we'll be continuing that series. Esoterical and Occult Bible study class continues on the 17th or the 18th, which is 18th, which is, I believe, 2 weeks from now. That's going to continue to be ongoing. The Kundalini Yoga and meditation classes are really important. It shows you proper breathing and meditation techniques. It shows you the power of mantras and chanting, and how to really build up your spiritual power, how to work with the chakras. We will be incorporating a workshop and a class at the Black Addict Conference on that, which is going to be good. But the Kundalini Yoga and meditation class was something I came up with a few months back because I think this is important foundational information that people bypass. It's going to help you. It's going to empower your meditations. It's going to empower your visualization skills. It's going to enhance your spiritual ritual work as far as focus and concentration. It'll teach you grounding and energy techniques, and it'll really show you how you work and activate your chakras. That is an ongoing series. We're doing that class tomorrow. If you're on Patreon on the right tier, you have access to it. If you would like to sign up for it and you're not on Patreon, just go to Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, or go right here to the community section on YouTube. It shows you how to sign up. You can pay by Cash App or PayPal. It's $56. Just when you send your payment, include your name and email address. So that class is ongoing. So we have a series of these classes ongoing. I believe now we're up to 5 ongoing series. I would encourage people to join Tier 3 on Patreon. That gives you access to all of them. So rather than pay $56 individually for each class, you can pay $25 a month and have access to all of them. I think that's a no-brainer. And that's why I do it, because I'm trying to offer you something that's very inexpensive, great value, that it's just that one monthly fee. Some people don't do it. They just pay $56 per class because I guess they just don't want to do it. And that's fine. But that's why I do it. If you join Tier 3, you're good to go. You have access to all the classes and the rituals and all of those ongoing series. And also, let me point out, when you do join, you don't just get access from the time you join moving forward. You get access to all the material and the content prior to before you join. Because people always email me about that. When I join, is it just from? No, you get access to when the channel first started. That's going to give you access to all the prior classes and rituals, in addition to all the new ones moving forward. So trust me, joining that tier 3 for the price, it's a great price, and it's giving you access to tons of content. You'll see when you go on there, trust me. And then obviously it speaks for itself. So definitely check that out. You know where to reach me for readings or consultations. Everything is in the description box of the videos. Wenton Patrick, this month's ritual is the ritual of the 7 aspects of Santa Muerte. It's the second ritual I've created dealing with this. It's going to be powerful because that's my mamacita. As you see, I got her around my neck today, the golden lady, Lady Dorada. This is one of my powerful patriot archetypes. I've done wonders with this. I can't even tell you from a financial level. That's mamacita right there. I call her mamacita. I keep that in the chest there for another story. Anyway, time for me to go. Time to grow. Peace, in the sense of positive energy, always creates elevation. So I say peace to you in that regards, and also infernal blessings to all. And I will talk with you people soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.